I think we'll go ahead and get started because we have room. Thanks so much for coming this afternoon. I'd like to call to order the March 2026 meeting of the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee. We're going to start, as we always do, with introductions of the committee members, and then we'll go ahead and approve the minutes and the rest of the agenda. So why don't we start over here with Sean Lacey. Take it
Sean
away.
Lacey, representing Washington County.
Paul Chan, Rhode Island Department of Health. Rich Leclerc from HDDH.
Samantha Menendez, peers, Ashley Community Representative. Judy Hanson, Head of Social Security Services.
Harp Donnelly, representing Newport.
Maria Santos, representing Providence County.
Nico Lincoln, community representative.
Patricia Resendi, representing Bristol County.
W. Speaker Hall, representing the House of Representatives.
Jeffrey Barone, representing Kent County.
Alex McAdoo, she, her, Brown School Public Health.
Julia Harvey, she, her, Special Assistant Attorney General, representing the Office of the Attorney General.
And I'm Julie Hamill. I'm the State Court Administrator, and I serve as the Chief Justice's designee. I'm joined today by the Honorable Amanda Valentino, who is the Magistrate for the Drug Court in the Superior Court. So
thank you, Julie. And thank you, everyone, for letting me be here today. I've been in the Superior Court for 3 years now, and the calendar that I handle, 4 different calendars. First and foremost, is the adult drug court calendar. So thank you for having me here and letting me be here today. The other calendar that I handle, another treatment court, is the diversion calendar. So those two, I'm very interested I'm excited to be here and just hear about what's been going on and what you're discussing at this point in time. And then the other 2 calendars that I handle, a little bit different. I handle a sex offender calendar, as well as the early termination of probation calendar. But I'm in Superior Court and I handle a myriad of other calendars when the need arises. But just happy to be here and thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Let's go to the UHHS staff.
Kathy Schultz, the Director of the Governor's Overdose Task Force.
And so,
Hi, my name is Silna Masuti, the Interdepartmental Overdose Project Coordinator.
Michelle.
Hi, Michelle Goncalo, the Finance Manager at OHHS.
And finally, hi everyone, I'm Brandon Marshall. I'm a professor of epidemiology at the Brown University School of Public Health, and I serve as the non-voting chair of the OSAC committee. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started with a review and approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was in February. So they should be in front of you, committee members, as part of your packet. It's a big packet today, so go ahead and find it. And unless there are any changes, can I get a motion to motion and a second? Second from Sean. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any days? Motion passes. All right, we approved the February minutes. Okay, let's go to today's agenda. Go ahead. So, oh no, we added one slide actually. This was not in the printout, but just something I wanted to put in as a standing slide, sort of our guidelines and expectations for conducting ourselves at the meeting. We've seen this before, but I just wanted to throw it up again and highlight especially the make space and take space guideline. If you're someone that talks a lot, I encourage you to leave space for others where appropriate. If you're someone who tends to be a bit shy, challenge yourself to speak up in the meeting. We really want to hear from all committee members today, especially during the executive session as we discuss the applicants for the community and expert rep positions. Thank you, Sil. Okay, so today we're going to be spending almost all of the meeting hearing from and discussing and then voting on the open positions for a community and expert representative, respectively. I'm going to start with a review of the structure of the committee, just as a reminder, the application process and the discussion. And then we'll hear from applicants, from the top-rated applicants, who will be invited to introduce themselves and explain why they would be a good fit for the committee. They'll each be given 3 minutes. Before executive session, we'll go into public comment. It's during the public comment period that any other applicant is welcome to speak, and any other member of the public as well. And then following that, we'll move into executive session. I'll talk more about that later. That is when the committee members will actually discuss the applicants and conduct their vote. The results of the vote will be made public following the close of that executive session before handing it over to Kathy for updates from the Governor's Overdose Task Force. So busy meeting today. My goal is to keep us moving through the agenda in a timely manner. Okay, so before we hear from the applicants, I just wanted to go through the committee structure and the application process. Go ahead to the next slide, Sil. So you've seen this slide before, but as a reminder, the structure of the OSAC is as follows. I am a non-voting member as your chair, and EWHHA's staff are also non-voting members such as Kathy, Michelle, and Sil. There are 17 voting members of the Rhode Island OSAC. 6 represent various state agencies. 6 represent municipalities. You'll see in a moment, 5 actually through counties and 1 City of Providence designee. And then 5 community and expert representatives. And one of the key rationales for the setup, and this is mandated in the terms of the settlement agreement, is that the municipalities, the jurisdictions, have equal voice on the committee, and it is designed to provide coordination and collaboration between the municipalities who have their own pot of settlement funding and that which is controlled by the state and is overseen by this committee.
Brandon,
Yeah.
do you want to give a quick update about the presentation that we just had at the League of Cities and Towns?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Or you can, Kathy, up to you.
Well, Brandon and I, as well as the City of Providence, actually presented to the League of Cities and Towns. And we also presented how the structure is here. And we informed them all of who is representing their counties. So that's really more of what I wanted to let you all know, because it's really a priority of this body to provide that technical assistance to the municipalities and to try to help them with deciding what they want to do with their 20% portion of the municipal funds, of the settlement funds, I should say.
Yeah, that's great. All right, if you go to the next slide. So this is drilling down into the specific representative seats. So there are 6 agencies represented at state level. The 5 counties have representation, as well as the City of Providence, 3 expert advisors, and 2 community representatives. I just wanted to note as well that there can be more than 1 representative in each of those boxes, such as today with Honorable Judge Valentino and Julie Hamill. But each position only gets 1 vote. So when we get to the vote today, I'll ask you two to decide which one would like to vote on behalf of the Chief Justice. And likewise, say, for example, with the Rhode Island Department of Health, the Director of Health is the slot, although Dr. Chan kindly serves as the designee when the director is unable to make it. Okay, go to the next slide, Sil. So in terms of who is appointed, the state agencies representatives are appointed by those agencies. The municipal representatives are appointed by the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns. Each recommend people to represent each of the 5 counties and the City of Providence. Today, we're going to be focused on the community and expert representatives. Those are appointed by committee vote. We have, as I mentioned, 3 expert and 2 representatives. We have 2 open positions today, 1 community and 1 expert rep, respectively. In the initial terms of the settlement agreement, the community representatives were on a staggered 2- and 3-year term, respectively. From now forward, all appointments, including that which we vote today, will be a 2-year term. The expert representatives, the 3 of them were originally staggered to serve a 2-, 3-, and 4-year term, respectively. From here on forward, the appointments will serve 3-year terms. This staggering was done to ensure institutional memory and so that there wasn't like a big wave of retirements. Now it will move in a more regular cadence. I served as the original 2-year representative. Expert representative Justin Berg served in the 3-year expert representative, and Dennis Baylor was appointed to a 4-year term and is moving off the committee shortly. So speaking of, actually, if you go to the next slide, before we get to the applicants, I just wanted to give a huge shout out and thank you to the 2 committee members who are transitioning off the OSAC. This is their last meeting. So I really wanted to thank Miko Lincoln, our community representative, and Dennis Baylor, our expert representative, for everything that you've done on the committee and all of your contributions. So please join me. Truly, it's been such an honor to work with you. Is there anything you'd like to say, Miko?
So much. That's 2 years. By really fast.
Yeah.
So much for the feedback, the opportunity to give feedback. So a wonderful thing. I would say more when I initially got not nominated, I was thinking it would be different. It's more so budgetary, and I'm not too good with numbers, so I don't know that. But I mean, but other than that, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Dennis?
Well, yeah, I feel like I should say something.
Not to leave you on the spot.
But what Nico said, being on the committee from the very beginning was certainly an honor, a privilege to be involved with so many people who have so much knowledge of what's going on with the funding and the finances. It was very new to me. It still feels new to me, don't get me wrong. But, it was an honor to serve. It certainly did and is fulfilling to be a part of the committee that the role is to try to provide funding where it's needed most. And from the very beginning, I feel like that was really important work. Again, it was my privilege to be selected to be a part of that important work. And I know that the committee obviously enforced. And coming on, it's important work, and we know that there are holes that need to be filled. And on this committee, we want to use our voices from our lived experience and our knowledge of this work, try to ensure that we can do our best to see that those funds go to where they're needed most. So it's my pleasure to have opportunity to serve. Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to just add from Kathy perspective, but also EOHHS. I want to thank you both for talking it out here in a committee, talking a lot about budgets and a lot of information. I also want to acknowledge that you both represent the communities that are directly impacted by the opioid settlement funds and the whole entire lawsuit against them that the AG led. And I want to just acknowledge that out loud here with the committee, that both of you represent the community and that you both have used your lived experience to help to guide some of these decisions. And I also want to acknowledge that we want to make sure that this table is a place that people with lived experience have that opportunity to voice their opinions, because that's what this is about. Thank you.
So although this is your last meetings, please don't be strangers. You're welcome to join as members of the public. And of course, you can always apply again. There's no limit actually in the statute as to how many times someone can serve in a term as well. So thank you again. Okay, so we'll move to today's goal, which is to elect new members. I'll just go through the process and then we'll hear from some of the top applicants if they would like to introduce themselves. We, the chair and the UHHS staff, developed an application. We modified it very slightly from last year. It was released to the community on February 11th. It was circulated in a number of different ways, including through the Governor's Overdose Task Force mailing list, which has more than 2,000 members, and we encouraged members of the community to disseminate the application widely. The submission deadline was extended because of the blizzard of 2026. You may recall that happened at the end of February. And so I want to thank the OSAC members for rapidly reviewing the applications on a shortened time frame because of the blizzard and returning all of your rankings, which were very helpful to collate everything. All of that review was done independently. So the OSAC members received all of the applications and were essentially asked to rank the applications and do so independently. And today we are voting, and the 2 new members will be seated at the next meeting, which takes place actually in May. I'll talk a little bit about the application now, if you go to the next slide. The application included some basic contact information, demographics, and short summaries of professional and or lived experience and qualifications. Applicants also had the opportunity to upload a resume, which was also provided to the committee members. I'll talk more about how we asked committee members to rank the applicants in a moment. Go to the next slide. So we ended up receiving 15 applications from individuals that were complete. All of these applicants are listed here. We received 10 applicants for the expert representative slot and 5 for the community representative slot. Just by point of reference, last year we received 20 applications, this year only 15. So just a note for next year, we'll try to get the application out earlier. Obviously, we run a shortened time frame, and also really encourage people to apply and to circulate the application widely. But this was our yield. Also note that applicants could apply to one or both of the positions. One person did just that. You'll see their name listed twice, but obviously they could only be seated in one of the 2 positions. Okay, you go to the next slide, and then I can stop for questions. So how did the OSAC committee members rank the applicants? We asked them to do so based on 2 criteria. One was diversity of perspective. This is meant to be very broad. We encouraged committee members to think specifically about how an applicant would increase the diversity of the committee as it stands currently in many domains. Lived experience, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, disability. There were several domains listed. The second main criteria we asked committee members to rank was the applicant's depth of experience and expertise. That's not mutually exclusive, it could be both, particularly with regards to their work or lived experience related to the overdose crisis. So those were the 2 key criteria. We asked each applicant, each committee member to rank their top 5 applicants, and then we scored those applicants. The person in the top rank received a score of 5 points. The person in the second rank received a score of 4 points, and so on. And then UHH staff collated those scores and summed them. We did not plan to report the scores publicly, but they are available to the committee member. We plan to present that during the executive session we will move into shortly. We primarily use this point system to determine who to invite to introduce themselves to you today. Just due to time constraints, we thought it would make most sense to invite the top 5 ranked applicants in both the expert and committee pool to present to you. But I want to highlight that during the executive session, you can vote for anyone. Just because they were in the top 5 does not mean you have to restrict your vote to the top 5. All of the applications can receive your votes during the executive session today. Okay. Did I miss anything in terms of process, Kathy, before we get to the introductions? Any questions from committee members about process before we actually get to the presentations? Okay, so we're going to do things a little out of order. If you go to the next slide, Sil, just due to some scheduling restrictions from the applicants, we're actually going to start with one expert advisor and then move into the community and then cut back to the expert advisor. So hopefully that's not too confusing for folks. These are the top 5 ranked expert applicants that are shown here. This is in no particular order, just ranked based on alphabetical order of their first name. I'll ask them in a moment to introduce themselves. We might as well stick with that order. I think that works. I'm going to ask each applicant to introduce themselves, just highlight who they are and what expertise or experience they might bring to the committee. I want to highlight this isn't meant to be a job interview. In fact, I asked the committee members, please don't ask any questions. Just due to time constraints, we have to get through potentially 10 people. So it's just really a way to learn more about who these folks are, in addition to what is written on the applications, and then we'll have a discussion during the executive session. So just to set that expectation. To the people that are introducing themselves today, please try to keep your remarks to 3 minutes. I'm really bad at this. I have to set a timer and I'll try to politely interrupt you when your 3 minutes are up. But we want to leave lots of time for this at the same time. Okay, so if you go to 2 slides forward. The next slide. Just going to leave this up for the applicants. So we're just asking you to briefly introduce yourselves and describe your experience and or expertise you have with the overdose crisis. Okay, if I didn't miss anything, we can start with our first expert advisor, who I think has to leave early. Is that you, Melissa? No problem. Yeah, we can work around your schedule. So last year, people came up, you could sit here, you could sort of stand here, whatever you'd like. I will set a timer.
Want me to?
Yeah. Yeah. I had 4 interrupting people. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Melissa Carbone. I am the site director for the outpatient addiction medicine team at Brown University Health. So I manage Brown University Health Recovery Center and PACT Clinic Addiction Care Today that opened a couple of years ago. And our goal for opening that was rapid response. So we accommodate walk-ins. We're kind of like in process of revamping our identity and remarketing, because we are finding that we have a lot of resources that and we're not reaching the population that we need to be reaching. So I think there is still a lot of gaps. We have done tremendous work. I started in this field in 2004 under Rich LeClaire at the Suboxone Clinic with Dr. Shabbat, which was one of the first Suboxone clinics in the state, I think. And we ramped up very quickly, as much as we could with the restrictions placed on us by the DEA at the time. And then in 2017, Lifespan wanted to centralize Suboxone. So we opened Lifespan Recovery Center, which is now the Brown Recovery Center. And so as much work as we have done, as we have made, as many strides as we have made, I know that we're still missing some gaps. And as a mom, I see her at my son's high school. My passion outside of my 9 to 5 is reaching our youth. Because when my son started high school, wow, I was in for an eye opener on what is going on in the schools. The school committee in my district probably doesn't want to hear from me much anymore, but they will be. We have a lot of work to do in our schools. A lot of education, early intervention. Our youth really need us. So that's my passion outside. My passion at Brown is to make sure our programs are easily accessible to anyone. Thank you. Are you so much? Sorry, that was very effective.
Very effective.
3 minutes. Sorry.
All right, thank you, Melissa. So as a reminder, committee members, Melissa applied to the expert panel. I should have mentioned the applications from the top 5 are printed for your reference. We're going to now move back to the community pool, if that's okay, just due to scheduling. So if you go back 1 slide, so who's here? These are the folks we may hear from. I thought I would go in this order. I'm not sure if, and my apologies if I butcher your name. Katie Paracircle, are you here? Yeah. Hi, Katie, come on up. Yeah.
Very well. How's it going?
Thank you. That's good. As a Canadian, I mess up the French last names. Or
Yeah, you made it very fancy.
really does it.
I was daunted. I wish I knew. I'll be French today. All right.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Katie Pariser Gollin. And where to start? So I was a preschool teacher for the first 15 years after I graduated Skidmore, and I was happy. And my ex got in a really bad dirt bike accident, and I got bored, and he got depressed, and I didn't know what depression was because I was happy. So I left him, and I ended up meeting an iron worker who was amazing and fun, and he started drinking when COVID happened. And I slowly lost everything that I knew into addiction, including overdose, including my kid and my apartment and everything else. My parents, who were living on Long Island, gave up everything, all hope that I esteemed existed. And a stranger brought me to Butler one day, and I came out of the detox, and I heard people's stories. And they were stories about things that I had done and things that I had said and heard while I was living a life that I had no idea other people were living too. And that was 2020. And now I've spent the last almost 6 years working with women in recovery and now with domestic violence, because there is a huge intersection between women who are in recovery and women who want to escape where they're in and then turning to substances and in turn overdose. So I have been in these meetings on the sly via meeting online because I am working as a crisis and diversion advocate at a domestic violence center here in Providence. And I really applied to this committee because I wanted to see what was going on the meeting level. My mom was a huge advocate for women's rights. One of the Janes started a illegal abortion ring back in the 70s, and Roe v. Wade set her free when she had finally gotten arrested. And my dad is a huge activist, and I was raised, fighting the fight, and I lost that for a long time, and I needed to get my grounding and work with people on the ground level to see what was going on, and women who are in recovery or want to be, who are living in domestic violence situations, have zero voice. And here I am to be a little bit of a voice and hopefully see what's going on here. I've seen the work that you guys have done, and my organization and the women that I work with have worked with many of the organizations for the people who are here representing them today. So I just wanted to have a little bit of a chance to see what's going on the inside. So thank you for having me. Ooh, wow, that was great. I wasn't even a fan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Katie, for sharing your story. Okay, next up would be Lori McDougall. I didn't see you, Lori. I was
hiding.
Yeah. All right, so you applied to both positions.
I did.
And you're speaking from the community, in the community slot,
Yes.
but either is fine.
Yes.
Yeah. So whenever you're ready.
Yes, and I'm gonna actually read because I'm incredibly nervous. I don't know why you intimidate me so much, but you do. First off, I want to thank everybody thank you for inviting me back and giving me this opportunity to be a community representative for OSAC. My connection to this work is deeply personal. I've supported a loved one through substance use, and I know what it feels like to live with fear, uncertainty, and stigma that families also carry. I also know what it looks like when things begin to shift, when the right supports, people, and approach come together. My loved one is still here today, and much of that progress can be attributed to the work that's done in Rhode Island. For the past 8 years, I've worked with families across the state who are navigating that same reality. I sit with parents, partners, and loved ones who are trying to hold it together while systems can feel overwhelming or hard to access. I facilitate family groups, provide overdose education and naloxone training, and I help families build practical skills so they can overcome and respond in ways that are both compassionate and effective. Some of you may have heard of REST. I scream it from the rooftops. One thing that I've learned is that overdose doesn't just impact one person, it touches every part of the family, often in silence. Families are often not well represented in these spaces, even though they are deeply affected and can be powerful partners in change. What I respect about Rhode Island is that there is a genuine effort to approach this differently. Rhode Island is unique. To be inclusive and bring multiple voices to the table, I would want to strengthen that by helping ensure family voices are not only included, but truly heard and reflected in decisions. I bring the perspective of someone who has sat on both sides, right? I've held those roles. I am a family member searching for help and a community advocate working to improve systems. I've been both, right? Some of you know I'm in the community all the time advocating for families and individuals with substance use disorder. I would approach this role by listening closely, asking thoughtful questions, really hearing the community, and keeping the focus on what will actually make a difference in people's lives. If selected, I will bring both hope and accountability to this role because I've seen what's possible when we get it right, and I know how much is at stake when we don't. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Lex Morales. Is Lex here? Hey, Lex, come on down. How are you?
Like Laura, I'm a little nervous. I'm getting a little closer.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Lex Morales, and I'm currently the program director at Project Work Renewal. Second location. But I also have other roles. Also on the board of directors of the reentry campus, which helps women incarcerated and incarcerated folks get secondary education behind the walls as well. And I also was a lead supervisor at our No One Dies initiative, emergency shelter, combination of emergency shelters. My back's, oh, you can't hear me, sorry.
Yeah.
Let me sit, I got so I don't lean it back. So I'm excited for for the possibility of serving on this committee, because as someone who works doing direct service in the community every day, I am constantly just focusing on what's in front of me. People's everyday immediate needs. I hope serving on the committee gives me an opportunity to slow down and see firsthand and be part of the decisions that are made around this critical funding for my community, for our community, sorry. My lived experience is what has brought me here. I am passionate about bringing services to people like me who are often unseen, especially when within the Black and Brown Latino community. I know firsthand as a Black, Hispanic, formerly incarcerated man that people like me often get overlooked when it comes to care. And I also recognize that many of the systems and institutions that are in place today to serve us also have huge gaps in them that I want to be part of filling. We know that today, so much systems of care that have been being built up under attack, and I want to be part of the real-time solutions. So again, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lex. I think Lindsay Garcia is out of the office and is unable to join us today. See her. So we'll move to the final community applicant, which is Tommy Joyce. Come on up, Tommy. We have the pleasure of hearing from everyone today because there are only 5 community applicants. So this will be our last one.
It's nice to sit. It's like fireside chat.
Yeah.
So good afternoon. So my name is Tommy Joyce. Currently, I'm the Vice President of External Affairs at Kodak Healthcare. Really, past 10 years, I've dedicated my career and passion to the overdose prevention efforts in Rhode Island. You know, being a founding members of the overdose task force, actually serving as their first community co-chair, and working in both the recovery community and the clinical community. Part of my skill set is grants. You know, thanks to BHDDH and Director Leclerc, you work in the recovery field, you work on grants. You know, and how do you do that? And what's effective and what's the outcomes? But most importantly, I've worked with different municipalities on prevention coalitions, and a lot of that is looking at how to spend some of this OSAC funding. I've worked with the local labor unions on some of their overdose prevention efforts, which Michael Currier, Building Futures, now is moving forward. So I've been coming to these meetings for a while. I work with a lot of statewide initiatives. I'm part of the overdose fatality review team. And, you know, all that's not possible on a person in long-term recovery. So part of my story is, you know, for a long time, I had a really significant addiction to opioid pain medications, as well as alcohol, with probably 40 hospitalizations. So I got a unique perspective of someone who received services to someone who provided services and going through, and also had the opportunity to be at some tables and some meetings and join the efforts that a lot of these people in this room have been part of. So, you know, I would like the opportunity to bring my skill set to this committee and help the efforts, because I mean, the main goal is, you know, how do we reduce the fatalities? But also, I always say, how can we be better? So thank you for your consideration today. And again, best of luck to all the other candidates, because there's some outstanding people. And I have to say, thank God I didn't have to back up Mike or Lori. Lexi did a great job, but you know, you have some actually candidates here today. So thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Hey, I think that's it from our community representative. So we can now go back to the people who applied for the expert representative positions. I think Abby Antwi is not able to make it unless they've popped in. Okay, great. So we will, and Melissa already presented at the beginning. So next then would be Michael O'Neill. Hi, Michael. Come on down. Yeah. Feel free to stand or sit, and whenever you're ready, take your time. Yeah.
I took some notes, so probably just because I don't remember very well when I try to present. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael O'Neill. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Many of you I already know, worked alongside a lot of these folks for many years. For those of you that I have not met yet, I'm a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorder. My story in many ways, like so many, I had pretty much unfettered access to opioid pain medication. I was a commercial fisherman before I got into human services. I did that for 20-something years, and it was a very physical job. And I really liked opioids when I was doing that because it made me be able to do my job, but it really had a terrible impact. When those became unavailable, I switched to heroin. And I found, you know, recovery through friends of mine that I knew that have found recovery and like helped me. That's really what it is. I didn't do it by myself. Nobody waved the magic wand. I didn't get it the first time. It's been a process for me. I spent nearly 2 decades now working in the recovery field. From almost every position. I worked on the first outreach team in the state. I was one of the first outreach peers And I recognize firsthand that how, you know, when you have the opportunity to say to somebody, if I could get you into treatment right now, would you be interested? Like in that split second, not like, oh, let me call and see if there's a bed or, you know, maybe call back tomorrow. I recognize that we had the power or ability to really save lives and really help transform people. And it was amazing to me. And that set the hook in me for this kind of work. Currently, I serve as the director of peer services for Anchor Recovery at the Providence Center. I oversee 3 drop-in recovery centers, a youth recovery center, a 24/7 emergency response to all the hospitals, almost all the hospitals in Rhode Island. And outreach teams as well that can offer the same kind of peer services that I talked about. Was my first experience where they go to underserved communities or highly impacted communities that are able to help people. I work as ground and meet people where they're at, whether that's in an emergency room, on the street, taking their first step toward recovery. I'm also personally an overdose survivor. I've seen firsthand the devastation of the crisis caused, not just in data, but in human toll. So, thanks for your consideration. I'm not going to run over.
Thank you.
Right, next up is Sandy Valentine. I hear you're coming down, Sandy. Thank you so much.
Hello,
Nice to see you.
good afternoon, everyone. We have an extra minute, which I'm happy to hear about, but I'm not going to really go over my resume or credentials, but I do want to mention that I earned my MSW just 2 years ago, which was an incredible experience because I was able to apply all my education to projects that I was actively engaged in the recovery community. I do want to share that I have sustained my personal recovery from a substance use disorder since 1991 by using a wide array of pathways, tools, and advantages that I have had being adequately insured throughout those years. I want to share 2 experiences with you. It's 2022 and I'm working with a first-year student and his family on UConn's campus. He is white, comes from a very affluent family that lives just outside New York City. This student had spent his entire high school years traveling around the country, participating in the best of 13 inpatient and outpatient treatment programs. He was very clever. He found a way to have opioids delivered to him on breaks during his outpatient treatment programs. His parents are both hopeful and terrified that the transition to college is going to initiate a return to use. A second story. It's 2023, and I'm working with a 62-year-old person of color at RideCares when we were downtown on Mathewson Street. He initiated his recovery from his opioid use disorder during the last few months while he was incarcerated for over 14 years. He had received some transitional support, but the warm homecoming that he thought he was going to get from loved ones ended up just being a series of doors shut in his face. He's unemployed, he's in transitional housing that is not substance-free, and he's rapidly losing hope. So the reason I applied for this is because I have hope for both of those men. I have hope that OSAC will continue to do the work that is breaking down the barriers that keep folks from initiating and sustaining recovery from their substance use disorders. I have hope because I've witnessed the power of recovery in all demographics for those who have all the resources and for those who have little to none. I have hope because this is a medical condition that is treatable. Long-term recovery is achievable and millions of Americans are doing it every day. And I hope to bring my experience, both my personal experience of living in recovery and my professional experience to this committee to reach others for recovery and help reduce overdoses in the state, which is in a great direction so far. But more to do. So thank you for considering my application.
Okay, and we have one more, Thomas DeFanti. There you are. I knew you were arriving late. Oh, sorry, Thomas. Yes, DeFanti. Come on down. Wherever you'd like, there is fine.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name's Tom DeFanti. I'm a physician.
Um, Building brings back memories because I moved from Maine in 2010, and I got a Rhode Island license as a physician, and I had to come and speak in front of the board because I had a date on my license. I had issues with marijuana, alcohol, that put a little A on my chest. So, but that went okay. I got my license. I have been working in addiction since I came back here. And there's a place in Connecticut that's called detox alcohol, love detox and rehab. And then I went to what was formerly the Phoenix House, and now it's Cynthia Health. Here. For a while, I worked at a methadone clinic in Hartford, Connecticut, with a real trip to across the street from the county jail, downstairs from triple D bonds jails. Got to see an array of people. When I first got back here, there was a group in Westerly, Rhode Island that had something called Shine a Light. I interacted with, and I'm winding down. I work 3 days a week, and I want to stay active in the community. What I see as a problem here is that there's all this money that's come down, but I don't know where it's going. And I'll tell you what my perspective is. I see someone 2, 3, 5 times detox, rehab, out into the community, nowhere to go. Money's got to go to how to house people. Money has to go to how people get adequate counseling, psychiatric care, because no one has a substance issue that doesn't have some kind of underlying mental health thing, be it trauma, be it anxiety, depression, etc. And it's not there. I can't find my patients at Zinnia. 95% of every one of them is honestly. Hey, try to find that someone adequate, who they can get adequate care from. And that's just one, and pointed in all the rest. So I'd really like to help focus on that kind of stuff, because we're going about this wrong. There needs to be a paradigm shift. We have to have something in the community to help support people so they don't end up back in the secret fund.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. So before we move to public comment, I just wanted to thank all of the applicants. It really was so humbling reading your applications and hearing your stories today. So thank you for joining us and for taking time out of your day to come down to the Department of Administration and introduce yourselves. It really is so helpful for the committee in terms of making their decisions. Okay, so before we move to executive session, I'd like to do public comment. This is an opportunity for any applicants whom we've not heard from to speak as a member of the public. And of course, any member of the public is welcome to speak and share whatever is on their mind as well. So I think today maybe we'll start in person and then go to the Teams chat, if you will, still. So the floor is open. If anyone from members of the public would like to. You're leaving me hanging. So am I, honestly. This is one of my favorite meetings, being able to hear all of these stories. So. Any comments and Teams?
I don't see anybody. Does anybody on Teams want to raise your hand for a public comment? Going once? Twice? 3 times? How about in the room one more time?
have another opportunity at the end of the meeting then as well for public comment if there's time. Hearing none, I'll move us to the next slide. So I'm going to walk through the voting process and then move us into executive session in a moment. I just want to highlight the reason why we're going to be doing the discussion of voting in a closed door executive session is to allow the committee members to discuss the applicants openly and honestly and avoid the awkwardness that comes from doing so in front of the applicants themselves. My goal as the chair is to keep our executive session as brief as possible in order, but sufficient to allow for a robust discussion and the vote. The vote itself will be done in the executive session via anonymous ballot, which the committee members have. But we will, of course, announce the vote publicly as soon as the executive session ends. So that is the plan. Each member of the OSAC will vote for one community and one expert representative slot. The applicant with the most votes will win the seat. If there is a tie in terms of the most number of votes received, we'll move to a runoff. So that is the process we will follow. I just wanted to highlight that publicly before we move into executive session. All right, and now there's very specific things I need to do. So I'm going to be reading my notes, my apologies. Any questions from the committee member before I ask for a motion to move into executive session and ask members of the public to step out of the room? Yes, Director Leclerc.
Just want to clarify that the voting is going to be, the selection is going to be based on a plurality and not a majority.
That's right. That's the intent. Yep. And if there's a tie, we'll do a runoff, I should say. Yes. Julie.
There was one person that was on the list that did not come, Abby Antwi. I just wanted to see what the status was of that and if that's still.
They were out of town.
Out of, okay, it's still under consideration.
And also Steve Garcia was out of town.
But still under consideration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and a good reminder that everyone is under consideration. We just heard from the top ranked applicants, but during the discussion, you're welcome to, talk about and eventually vote on any of the applicants, not just the people presented. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
I make a motion that we go to executive session.
Let's do it. Okay, we have a motion. Can I get a second to that motion? Rep. Hall, great. And then we have to vote in majority to move into executive session. Can I get an aye for moving into executive session? Any abstentions or nays? Great, okay. We have to show in the minutes still that the motion to move into executive session passed unanimously.
Called the motion.
It was Chiron and second was Rep. Hall. Yeah.
Thank you both.
Yes, thank you both. Okay.
Before we begin, can we just make sure that everybody on Zoom can hear us? If you could just say yes or no in the chat.
Can you hear us folks on Zoom?
That's not on. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. Welcome back, everyone. I just have to read something formal and then we'll announce the results. All right, the Rhode Island Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee convened an executive session pursuant to Rhode Island Law 4246, 5 subsection A. And the following votes were taken. The body voted to elect a new community and expert representative member respectively. And then there was a motion which was seconded and approved unanimously to return to open session. Okay, so I'm very happy to announce that we have two winners for the community representative position is Lex Morales. Congratulations, Lex. And the expert position is Michael O'Neill. Left. Yeah, so congratulations. Thank you again, everyone who applied. It was an incredibly difficult job. We had a very robust discussion, and I appreciate committee members for all of your work reviewing these applications. So that is most of our business. I think we have one more slide from Kathy with Governor's task force updates, and then there'll be a motion to adjourn. Kathy, take it away.
Just text him, Michael.
Oh, great. Okay, good. You'll be the first to know.
So I just want to just give a couple of announcements. So for some of you who may be new here, particularly magistrate, we have our governor's overdose task force, which is the sort of the central body for all things overdose. And we have a semi-annual report that's sent to the governor on a semi-annual basis. And that is just about finished. It's just going through some reviews between EOHHS and the governor's office, and then that will be posted and available for March 31st. So we send these semi-annual reports on March 31st and also September 30th of each year. So that will be posted on our Prevent Overdose RI website, as well as sent out to the task force and this to you all. The next task force will be held virtually on April 8th. It is National Alcohol Awareness Month, so we're going to actually have a presentation from our health department for some of the data that they have from alcohol use in Rhode Island, as well as we have a guest presentation from our partners at VICTA, who is going to provide some information around what harm reduction looks like from that VICTA perspective. In addition to that, I don't think it's at the bottom here, where we've also asked our partner, my colleagues at EOHHS, to provide us with an update from our federal advisory committee. That was actually put into effect through an executive order through Governor McKee, and they're going to give us an update on some of the work that they're doing with the federal advisory, which is looking at the federal policy changes and how that can impact. I think they're mostly going to be focused on Medicaid, but also some SNAP information as well. So if you could, it is a virtual meeting, please listen in. The federal advisory portion of this will be at the beginning. And I know that that's very important for this body, as well as many of our community organizations. So please join us. And also the other information is equally as important. But I know there's a lot of questions about some of that information.
Okay, yeah, Patricia.
Just a quick question. I don't even know if we can ask at this point, but the situational table, I had just some community members asking, is that no longer going to be funded? The communities have to self-fund that?
The situation table was never funded through OSAC. No, no. There's a municipal opportunity right now. As I said earlier, I presented to the League of Cities and Towns. So that's up to the municipalities to take advantage of that opportunity if they have some interest in looking into funding some of the situation tables. However, there are very specific parameters on that funding application. It can be found on the Prevent Overdose RI website under funding opportunities, as well as on the EOHHS website, the settlement, opioid settlement advisory. Yeah, if you read the application, there's option 1 and option 2. The goal of the funding, based on information from this committee, was to really focus on providing technical assistance to the municipalities, also having a better understanding of what they may be doing with their 20% of opioid settlement funds. And so that's mandatory, option 1. And then there's option 2, where if it makes sense, municipalities are more than welcome to send an application.
Any other comments from the committee members? We usually do 2 public comments. We didn't put in a second one. We have a few minutes if there's any additional public comment. Okay, so with that, I'll go to the last slide, which is just to highlight that we're not meeting in April. We'll meet right after Memorial Day on May 27th from 1 to 3. Just the agenda for that meeting. Kathy, remind
It's a
me.
heavy one.
It's a heavy one.
Well, that will be, so we do have a couple of minutes. I want to hear from you all. It's not set yet. Last year, what we did was we actually set the agenda. We gave, we had our agencies come in and give us updates. We also tried to provide some recommendations for you all to examine and have sort of what thinking about from community engagement through the task force process that we have. So we can do that in that meeting. It's coming, it may seem like it's not coming quick, but it is, because we have a lot of information coming from the Department of Health, HDH and EOHHS. So that's basically what we're thinking. If you all want to go in a different direction, just let me know. You can take some time and think about it, but I'm preparing the agencies now as we speak to be prepared.
And then June would be when you provide the summary for the task force recommendations
I
to
did
this
it.
committee.
I did it both in May
Both.
because you all asked for that.
Okay.
If you want to wait until June for the recommendations from the task force, that'd be great. But if you want them in May, I can be prepared. We're doing it by survey now, rather than going to each of the 9 work groups, because it just, you know, it's just easier for everybody involved and we get more voice that way.
Definitely think about that. Let Kathy or me know if you have agenda items for May. That's great, Kathy.
The main, if you can all attend, please do, because the main topic will be updates from the agencies.
Yeah, in terms of what are we funding, what are we doing?
And for those of you who were here last year, I did receive a lot of positive feedback. The Attorney General joined us, and he was actually pretty impressed by it as well.
Yes, yes. Remember that being a high pressure meeting. For that reason.
Yeah.
All right. So that is it. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Yes. Let's see, we'll go with Chief Barone, second Miko, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions, nays? All right. The March meeting of the Rhode Island Opioid Settlement Committee meeting is adjourned. We'll see you at the end of May. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you to everybody.